What is going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Friday, April 8th, 2022. Y'all already know what it is. It is the live stream day on the main channel today, Taurean Rain Reloaded. I hope everybody is having a good day. Make sure that when y'all come into the room to go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure y'all share. If we can get this video, this stream to 100 likes, that actually triggers the algorithm to actually share the stream out with more and more people. Last time I checked, I think it was at 21. That was before I went live. If we can get this to 100 likes, I would definitely appreciate it. I hope everybody is having a good day. I hope everyone had a good week. I know that I did. So far, I have 3 people currently, or 4 people here. Capricornus, Rain King Entertainment Studios, K Nicole B, Real Beautiness 25. I hope every one of you is having a good day. So, excuse me. So far, have a few topics that we are going to be discussing today, and I cannot wait to get through them all with you. Of course, I'm gonna wait for a couple minutes for some people to get in here. That way, that people aren't really missing much. Let's see. Black Light Revelations. Shout out to you, Orlando O. Letitia. Glad you are all here. Also, shout out to everybody who hit that join button. You know, the membership button. I had a few people hit it over the course of the week, and I did see it. Shout out to y'all. Remember, my goal is to get to 50 so I can start doing like those member only live streams. I guess you can say they're kind of exclusive, but 50 is the goal. Shout out to Spidey. He said tour season is coming. I guess you learned your lesson from the last stream. But yes, it is coming in a couple weeks. April 19th, I believe, is when it kicks off. But we all know May 4th is the day that we are all, that at least that I'm looking forward to. Pisces the King, Janesta 225 girl. How are you all doing? I'm glad you are all doing okay. But I had wanted to talk about something before I actually really got into this stream, something that I saw yesterday from the Coonstress herself. I said I'm going to talk about it on here because I refuse to do a video about it. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to. So that's why I'm going to talk about it right here. So, you know, everything that has come out recently about BLM and them buying that mansion and everything like that, you know, everybody pretty much knows about it. So she got on her Instagram. But by the way, I have her blocked on Twitter. I need to block her on Instagram too. The only reason I saw it is because somebody in who I follow on there posted up the video on their stories. And it was about a 6.5-minute video. And before I even listened to the video, because I even listened to the whole thing, I looked at what she wrote as far as the caption goes. And in it, she was just talking about Black America owes her an apology. We was like, for what? What do we need to owe you an apology for? Because she told us that about how BLM was a scam and how people was coming at her, calling her a race traitor. Well, you are that. That's for sure. And it's not because of what you said about BLM. Because honestly, many of us already knew what type of stuff BLM was on way before we even knew who you were. But since you want to talk about money and scams, you know, since you are a grifter yourself, why don't you give back that money that you got for anti-Black discrimination at that school you went to that you didn't finish, and then come out years later and say that white supremacy isn't that bad? But she's the last person to be talking about we need to owe her an apology. We don't owe her nothing. But what kicker was for me was when I was looking at the comments and you had people saying, oh my God, Candace, you were so right. I don't know how in the world I did not listen to you all this time because I thought you were this, that, and the third, but now I see the light. Oh, and by the way, Candace for president. People are funny. Candace for president. Yeah, right. Ain't nobody gonna put that chick in office for nothing. But then again, you can't speak too soon because after all, we did get 45. So it's a possibility, but hopefully it doesn't happen. They don't love her that much to put her in the highest office of the land. Let's see who else do we have in here. Darlene, Maximus Crystal, Dimitri the Prince, RG Titan 901. Yeah, but when I saw that, I said, "Get out of here with that, Candace. Ain't nobody about to ain't nobody about to apologize to you, and you ain't about to be nobody's president. That's for sure." Mystery Man, you said Candace is fine. You must have very low standards. And she wouldn't think highly of you. She wouldn't even spit or piss on you if you were on fire. Have you seen who she's laid up with? You are beneath her. And she probably would tell you that to your face. Crystal says she has not even made the New York Times bestseller with her last book. And that's probably what she's aiming to do. Because one of the comments that I did see is someone saying, you know what, Candace, I'm going to go out and buy your book. And she went and left a comment being all happy because someone said that. I'm sure she does need the sales because nobody's checking for her book. Nobody's checking for her. See, she has been convinced that she's bigger than what she is, but she's not. She's only as big as they'll allow her to be. What's up, Gnome King? You didn't miss anything. You know, this is just the introductory portion of the show. You know. But yeah, we got a couple things that we're going to be talking about today. And they're listed right there in the topic screen. And speaking of Gnome, how is your brother doing? Because I know that for the last couple of streams, you wasn't able to be as active because you said you was dealing with some family issues with your brother and his health. So how is he doing? Vulcan said president of what, a book club? I wouldn't put her in that position. She doesn't need the president of nothing. She don't need to be the president of anything. That would be embarrassing if they made her president. Y'all thought having 45 and 46 as president was something? Yeah, let her be president. And she still hasn't posted any recent pictures of her child. I mean, but we know why that is. The people that whose butt she likes to kiss are the same ones that had disdain for her child. It wasn't us that said anything. Ashen said, what's so special? There's nothing special about her. That's the thing. But when it comes to high intense levels of cooning, anything goes, at least for them anyway. That's why I said Dub S is a bunch of cowards, because they use props like her and shows like her to do their bidding because they can't do it. I'm reading Gnome's comment. Oh, that's good to know. I'm glad that he's recovering. He's getting better. But yeah, she probably thinks that she's like the best Negro walking right now. Like many of them are. Like they feel like they have reached the pinnacle elite status. That's what she thinks. It's probably what they tell her too. Got about 2 more minutes and we're going to go ahead and get started. I like to get started right at 5:10. Donna said they like her because of distance for Black people, but they won't support her book sales. Right. And I bet you that book is filled with a bunch of fallacies anyway. That book would be perfect for, like, if it was a cold day and the heat wasn't working and I needed some fire. If I didn't have any firewood, I would just use that and burn her book. That's basically the only usage for it that I would have. Other than that, it's whatever. Okay, it is now currently 4:10, so now I'm gonna go ahead and get into these excuse me, these stories. The first thing I'm going to talk about is Amir Locke, but first I'm going to play this news clip and see what they're talking about.
Their fight and killed in a controversial police raid says their fight for justice isn't over. Prosecutors today decided not to charge the Minneapolis police officer who shot 22-year-old Amir Locke. Locke died during a no-knock raid inside of a downtown apartment in February. Officer Mark Hanneman returned to duty later that same month. We have team coverage, starting with WCCO's Esme Murphy, and why prosecutors call this case a tragedy, but not a chargeable crime.
The video released after the incident shows a blur of a few seconds with police entering, something stirring under a blanket. That turned out to be Amir Locke. Then you see the tip of a gun and gunshots. The video was a big factor in the decision not to charge.
That gun was pointed directly at Officer Hanneman. During the body-worn camera, it seemed to dip down a bit and then come back up.
Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman and Attorney General Keith Ellison say they are required to follow the law, and that meant no charges in this case.
Current law only allows us to evaluate the case from the perspective of a reasonable police officer.
Ellison says this case is an example of why no-knock warrants should be reevaluated.
There are inherent risks for everyone involved, including civilians and officers.
Esme Murphy, WCCO 4 News.
Now I want y'all to pay attention to something that hold on, hopefully this is things. Tiger Woods ain't nobody trying to see you Kablasian. I wanted y'all to pay attention to something that Keith Ellison said. I'm gonna see if I can play that back. Hold on. It's something that he said that stuck out to me.
During the body.
Hennepin County say they are required to follow the law, and that meant no charges in this case.
Current law only allows us to evaluate the case from the perspective of a reasonable police officer.
Did y'all hear that? He said the law only allows them to have this thing be evaluated by a reasonable police officer. So it's required by law that, in so many words, that they take the words of the cop. Of course, if you take the words of them, it's always going to go in their favor. If we're going by that logic. Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at the comments. How was he pointing the gun at them? He wasn't even pointing the gun. It wasn't even in their direction. And he wasn't even the person that they were looking for. Now, in another article that I saw, they said now, because of what occurred with this, now they said that in the state of Minnesota, they're now banning no-knock warrants. That's the same thing they did with Breonna Taylor. The thing is, if the no-knock warrants were already on the books, then this most likely or possibly would not have happened. And isn't it interesting how all these no-knock warrants always involves a black person being the victim? Just like I keep telling people that stand your ground doesn't work in the favor of black people. And they said the cop that killed him, that shot him, was back on duty at the end of the month. So they literally was on administrative leave for just a couple of weeks. And then they were back in there. And keep in mind, this is the same, Minnesota, where back in 2020, George Floyd was murdered in front of the world. As we can see, even with Derek Chauvin locked up, not much has changed and probably will never change. But I'm not even remotely shocked or surprised that this was the outcome, because when this first originally happened, you could tell by the way that the media painted this that they were not going to charge him with anything even back then. I would have been shocked if they did. Like they were prepared to let them walk away from this unscathed. But you know what? Let's just because of what happened, let's just go ahead and say no knock warrants for the state of Minnesota. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, Janessa, getting killed in your own house like that is crazy. Exactly. And I think he was visiting. I don't think he lived there. I think he was visiting a relative. This is like Botham John all over again. Except even with the little bit of time that she's serving, at least Amber Geiger is in jail. Despite all the theatrics from his family and from Judge Tammy the Mammy. Exactly, Ashton. He was already painted as a criminal. When they saw that gun, they immediately said, "Oh, there's a criminal." They were ready. They were ready for it. Well, I guess that puts a cap on this situation. Grand opening and grand closing. Let's move on to the next story. Oh, and by the way, I didn't even know until I looked at my calendar that April had 5 Fridays in it. Because y'all know I didn't do a live stream last week because I wasn't available. But yeah, I'm kind of glad that that happened like that, because then it's like I mean, I would have had an extra Friday of a live stream, but that could have kind of threw me off at the same time. But yeah, April has 5 Fridays, and it's rare because usually it's 4 of them. But anyhow, I just wanted to throw that in there. Okay, the next story I'm going to be talking about is Bruce Willis. Now, everybody knows who Bruce Willis is. I mean, world-renowned actor, especially when it comes, to those Die Hard movies. That's really what he's known for. But other movies as well. But the Die Hard movies is like the bread and butter of his, or the backbone of his entire career. But it looks to me that Bruce Willis is no longer going to be acting because he got diagnosed with something called aphasia. Now, aphasia, from what I've learned of what it's saying here, is that it's an impairment that alters a person's ability to speak or read. Now, keep in mind, Bruce Willis is in, I want to say his 60s. I want to say that he's in his 60s. So imagine you are gone through your whole life and your whole career doing movies and having just casual conversations, to all of a sudden you can no longer speak or read. Now he has to learn sign language. He has to learn sign language because that's the only way he's going to be able to communicate, or for people to be able to communicate with him. And I kept wondering myself what caused this, and I'm saying to myself, could it possibly be all those years of all those stunts that he was doing in all these movies? It's caught up with him. That's my assumption of it, because it's not something that is like cancer that just activates, because it's a rare disease that just kind of comes on. From what I'm learning, is not hereditary, it just happens. K. Nicole said aphasia is a symptom. I'm sure he had a stroke. Maybe, possibly. But yeah, so he had to bow out from his career of acting. He no longer could, he can no longer do it. I've heard that in some of his more latter films, like later on in his career, that whenever he was doing roles, he had to wear like a little mic piece in his ear so his lines could be fed to him from somebody else, because he could not read the lines on the page. Or even some of the like, and the thing is, you can't read and write, like it's really no point. Now the only way he could still do acting if he wanted to is he would have to do a movie almost completely where he's signing. What's going on, Mark? Like I said, the thing that really got me is the fact that it's happened so much later in his career. It's like, I was like, you go through your whole career being able to use all of your 5 senses, and just in one fell swoop you lose 2 of them, of your hearing and your speaking. Your hearing and ability to speak. Well, not I'm so, yeah, and to read. Like I said, aphasia can be a stroke symptom because your nerves are affected, where your facial movements and swallowing abilities are affected. Yeah, it's almost like a lot of his nerves are like literally shutting down, like slowly but surely. Ashley said that's what happened with Michael J. Fox. He had to retire from acting in 2020 from Parkinson's. Yeah, and Michael J. Michael J. Fox had Parkinson's for a long time. Like he's had it for probably for the last 20 years or so. So that's why he couldn't act anymore. You would see him in interviews where the people when he would be interviewing and he would always be shaking, like he would always be rocking back and forth. And of course, Muhammad Ali, he had Parkinson's as well, where he was always shaking. It's a nerve. It's pretty much like a nerve thing. 225 girl said I thought he had an early onset of Alzheimer's. Possibly. I'm looking at some of the comments because a lot of people are leaving comments in here about what is going, like what's happening with him. And people said that it could be an early stage of Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever the case may be. Some cases such as that, but possibly. Spidey said he was diagnosed in 91. Michael J. Fox. So it was about over 30 years. But yeah, that's crazy, because I was a fan of those Die Hard movies, especially that one with Sam Jackson and Die Hard with a Vengeance. That's probably one of my favorite ones out of that whole series. Then of course I like movies like The Fifth Element, Unbreakable, films like that. Believe it or not, I've never watched The Sixth Sense. I've never watched The Sixth Sense. People said it was good, but I've never watched it. One day I'll sit down and just watch it. But yeah, that's my take on this situation right here. Let me move on to the next story. Now, this one right here, I did not know until like last week. And I don't know how many of you in here watched the show Bel-Air, but the season finale was so good. Like they actually did the storyline like they did with Will's father coming back after being gone. They kind of switched up how it all happened, but they ended up having Marlon Wayans play his dad, Lou Smith. Like they had Ben Vereen play him in the show back then. And that was one episode that I could never get through because it was so intense. And I was thankful that I had my dad in my life. But I just still couldn't watch the episode. But they had Marlon Wayans play Will's dad on Bel-Air season finale, and he knocked it out of the park. Ever since I saw Marlon Wayans play Ted White in Respect, I said they need to give him more dramatic roles because he can do drama very well. I don't know where he pulled that from, but he can do it. Like he can pull it off. But the reason why you see this picture right here is because Marlon Wayans was originally cast to play Robin in the old Batman films from the 90s. Like I think they was going to have him be in either Batman Forever or they were going to put him in Batman Returns. I can't remember exactly which one it was. But he was going to be Robin. He was going to be the first Black Robin. And I think because that was at the time when Tim Burton was still working on the films, because he did the first Batman movie in '89 that had Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson in it and Kim Basinger. Then he came back and did Batman Returns that brought back Michael Keaton, then added Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito, as well as Christopher Walken. And then he was going to have Marlon Wayans. And shout out to DN3001 for the super chat. He says, keep up the great work. I appreciate it. He was going to bring in Marlon Wayans to be Robin in Batman Forever. But what happened was they ended up taking a different direction. Tim Burton was no longer going to be the director of the films because they said that they felt it was going too dark, quote unquote. And if you look at Batman Returns, you could see that movie had a lot of dark tones to it, but it was still a good movie. So they replaced Tim Burton with Joel Schumacher, and then they got rid of Michael Keaton and brought in Val Kilmer to be Batman. And if you remember, also Billy D. Williams was Harvey Dent in the 1989 version, which means that they kept it going that way. That means that Harvey Dent would have been Two-Face in Batman Forever and not Tommy Lee Jones. But Marlon Wayans had already been cast. Here's the thing. Marlon Wayans was already cast to play Robin. Like, he got the part. Like, he auditioned, they liked his portrayal, and he got the part. But then when they went another direction, he ended up not playing the role, and Chris O'Donnell was brought in, who is this person right here, to play Robin in Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Now, the kicker about this thing is he got the part, he wasn't able to play it, but guess what? They kept him on the payroll as if he did get the part, and he got paid as if he played the part. And to this day, Marlon Wayans still gets a check from Warner Brothers for a part that he didn't even play but was casted for. I did not know that. So Marlon Wayans is getting a residual royalty check for a movie that he was not able to play in, even though he was cast for the part. I actually, like I said, I found that out last week. And I believe the interview he did in which he talked about it was back in 2018. That blew my mind when I learned about that. Because that's not something that he talks about. That's not something he discusses. But that would have been interesting, though, to see what he would have done with the role, though. I would have liked to see what he could have done with the Robin character. That probably would have been an interesting take, because at the time, that was Marlon Wayans. He was still, doing In Living Color. No, he wasn't. I think In Living Color was off the air by that time. But he was doing more comedic things, what the Wayans family is known for. But you know what? That was no sweat off his back, because guess what? Guess what ended up coming out the same year Batman Forever did? The Wayans brothers. Him and Sean Wayans and John Witherspoon did the Wayans brothers. That lasted from 95 to 99 on what? WB. Talk about a coincidence. But I think that I would have liked to see how he would have handled that role, to be honest. And that would have been like his first action role. And it would have been a first role where he's not being like funny. He's not being comedic. Ashton Lewis said, which is now the CW. Yeah. But yeah, don't sleep on Marlon Wayans. He's a very good actor. I also heard he was good in that movie Requiem for a Dream. I've never watched that movie, but I heard that's a very good movie. And that's one of the movies where he first did drama. And I know the premise of the movie because I know it deals with drugs and overdoses and stuff. They said that's a wild movie. Requiem for a Dream, I think it came out in 2000. I need to actually sit down and watch that movie, because from everyone that I've heard who has seen it said that is a wild movie. I've even heard people say that they could only watch that movie one time because it was too much. Exactly, Chris. I just mentioned it. Like me and you on the same wavelength when I said Requiem for a Dream. But yeah, that's going to be another movie I need to sit down and actually watch as well. Ashton said, folks don't think comedians can do serious roles. Look, I don't know how, because I think a lot of comedians can pull off serious roles. Honestly. Some of them do drama just as good as they do comedy. Okay, I just wanted to bring that up. This was kind of this is probably the lightest story that I'm talking about on my channel today, but I wanted to bring that up to y'all because I thought that was just very interesting to me. Now we're going to get into the goofiness. This chick right here, Shay Johnson. Now, if y'all remember, I did a video about Tyree Sampson. He was the young boy down in Florida who fell to his death on that ride at that theme park down there in Florida. Well, now it's back in the news again, and it should stay in the news. Well, not this part, but this part right here, where you had this woman named Shay Johnson who was going around perpetrating a fraud, claiming to be Tyree Sampson's cousin, and basically trying to get justice for him. And like she all on the news and everything like that, claiming that she is his family member. And I think she was a stripper as well, too. I think I saw somewhere saying that she was a stripper. But she was out there clout chasing. Listen, if I was one of Tyree Sampson's family members, hands. She would have to catch these hands. Like, what would possess you to do that? Like, this family just lost their child, their loved one, in a very brutal and gruesome accident. And you want to get up there and claim to be a family member. If you just wanted to get out there and support the family, you could have just did that. Why are you going around saying that this was your cousin? As if the family would not know. All up in the camera talking about he my cousin. What? Gary said bold with her lies. Yes, very bold with her lies. Very. I can't even bring myself to bring up the clip when they was interviewing her or talking to her because she sounded so ignorant. And she is. Like, who does that? Who does that? Like, they are dealing with a lot right now. Like, imagine, having to witness something like that and then having to turn on the news and this woman claiming to be the cousin of the deceased. What was the point? What was she trying to gain out of that besides attention? Well, anyway, they ended up getting her and they ended up arresting her. It's a Shay Johnson, whose real name is Lavanya Browning, apparently received donations for the grieving family of Tyree Sampson, pretending to be his cousin. Now, look at that. She received donations claiming to be the cousin of him that I'm sure the family most likely didn't see. So she saw this as a financial come up for herself. That makes it even worse. Now you really got to catch these hands and these feet. She saw this as a financial come up for her. That is some foul shit. Again, and now we know what that's going to say. You know what that looks like? What are those BLM heifers doing right now? Getting a bag off of the bodies of dead black men. Now, granted, he didn't die in the fashion of police brutality, but he still died. And here you have a black woman profiting or trying to profit off of a tragedy that happened to be the death of a young black boy. I guess the money on the pole wasn't paying enough. I'm just look if it's like a pause right there, I'm just looking at the comments, y'all. Yeah, she is very trifling. She is very tacky. She has no truth about herself at all. She seized an opportunity that did not need to be seized. Ashley said they in her job fired her when they found out. Good. That's what she deserves. She did something that she didn't even need to do. She was probably talking to the little voices in her head and they were telling her to go do it, and she did it with her dumb ass. Gary said she needed to be excommunicated from society. I won't argue that. Kid Gravity said she was trying to quit because she claimed the owner was racist and not paying her. That excuse does not fly well with me at all. I don't believe that at all. Coffee said BLM did the same thing. I just said that. That's why I said this reminds me of that with those founders. Which, by the way, when I found out they got another house, I'm thinking that this was a house. When they brought up the story about them, I thought it was a house they already had. This is a whole new house that's in Delaware. Delaware is right above the state that I live in. It takes me about, if I was to drive to Delaware, it would probably take me about a little over an hour to get to the state line. I don't know what part of Delaware they're in, but it has to be a nice area for them to get a $6 million mansion. Listen, I'm not even going to dig and dive into that rabbit hole. I already talked about that on Afro Elite's channel last night. And shout out to Afro Elite. And shout out to Cinnamon Star 808 for the $5 super chat. I appreciate it. DSM said social media is a truth teller. She thought that come up wouldn't be noticed. She was wrong. Exactly, because that's how people found out about the story, was on social media. So we already knew. And she didn't wait either. She hopped on this with the quickness, because I think he had just died and she popped up like 2 days later. She did not waste any time. But yeah, I'm glad they got her. I'm glad she got arrested. Hopefully she's in jail, and hopefully she has to pay back any money that was donated to her. And the family needs to sue her. Now, this is a lawsuit right here that I'm almost guaranteed they'll win for sure. I'm guaranteed of that. They should win the one down in Florida as well. They tried to come up with some BS. I forgot what it was. I meant to talk about it, but I said, what's the point? I said that was a BS statement that the theme park had released. They were trying to basically try to scoop their way out of accountability. I said, nah, you have a body on your hands. Somebody fell out of your ride that wasn't supposed to be in it because they couldn't fit. You didn't have the harness pulled down, and you just, well, you know the rest. But let's move on. This one I couldn't wait to talk about. I said, let me wait till Friday. Now, this right here is some full circle karma right here. Now, if I was to talk about this on my channel, this would have definitely been a triple P for sure. So you have this guy right here whose name is Semaj Short, and he was convicted of killing a toddler in North Carolina, and plot twist, he ended up dying in a prison attack. A round of applause to all of those who had to handle business. Now, that's what you call swift justice. This guy wasn't even able to serve out his full prison sentence, and they got him immediately. Swift punishment. That's why they say one thing when it comes to prison, don't get up in there and if they found out that you harmed a child or harmed a woman, because they gonna be on your ass one way or another. Swift punishment. I feel absolutely nothing for him. Now, what would make you do this? Now, check this out. 24 attacked in the housing area of the prison around 2:14 p.m. They said 3 other inmates were injured during the assault and were taken to a medical facility. The assault is under investigation. Short was serving a 31-year sentence for a second-degree murder in the shooting death of a 2-year-old in 2017. It says Short was 17 years old at the time of that murder in 2014. This guy literally threw his life away at the age of 17. He was serving a 31-year sentence for second-degree murder, and he did not get even halfway through, not even a third through his sentence before he got the axe. In my opinion, that's how it should be handled, personally. And I bet you he was in Gen Pop. Most likely he was in Gen Pop. Now, that's what they should have put, what's his name? Dylan Roof at. Now, one person did get their hands on him. Unfortunately, it was only their hands and not a whole bunch of hands when he got attacked in that shower. But they got him on death row, so he's in some kind of protective custody anyway, or wherever it is that he's at. He's away from everybody else. He's on death row. But it is what it is. He got the Christopher Scarver treatment. Now I take that back. He got the what's his name? The one that Christopher Scarver took out, Jeffrey Dahmer. That's what he got. Like I said, I feel absolutely nothing for this idiot, or should I say this murderer? And I'm sure the family of the deceased probably are sleeping a little bit better tonight. Noam says less tax dollars got to go to feeding, clothing, and housing an inmate. Good point. Karma. I'm seeing a lot of karma comments. Shout out to those inmates that did what they felt that they had to do. And it also makes you wonder too, because see, this happened back in 2014. He's been in jail since 2017. So it makes you wonder why he didn't get attacked back then in 2017, because it's not like they didn't know the story. So this guy was literally walking around aimlessly for the last, what, 6 years? No, last 8 years. No, let me make sure I get my math right. The last 5 years, I'm sorry. So it makes me wonder, did he say something to someone in there to set them off? Because like I said, they didn't immediately go after him after he was put in prison back in 2017. They just killed him last week, because this was posted on April 1st. I mean, I'm glad they got him. Don't get me wrong. But it makes you wonder what took it a little bit longer to get him. Did he say something? Or did they allow him to walk around and breathe a little bit and think they forgot about it? I don't know. Thank you, Noam King. Dwayne Stafford. That's the one that attacked, and rightfully so, Dylan Roof when he was in that other prison. The reason why they moved Dylan Roof was because he got attacked by Dwayne Stafford. And shout out to Black people for getting on code, because Black people put money on his books and he was released from jail like that same week. And that was I think I want to say his bail or whatever, for whatever he was in for, was like $100-something thousand. And Black people came together and piled together and got that money on that man's books, and he was out of jail by the end of the week, of the same week that he attacked Dylan Roof. I will never forget that. That was probably one of the most on-code things that Black people did in recent history. Unfortunately, like Janessa said, we are still stuck with Dylan Roof. That's the only thing I hate about the death penalty, is it takes so long for them to get to the chair. It takes so long. Like, this guy did what he did back in 2015. He's been in jail since like 2016. And here we are in 2022 and his ass is still breathing. So that's the only thing I hate about the death penalty, or being, death row, is that it takes a long time for the person to get that lethal cocktail. Now, remember I did that video about the South Carolina and the firing squad? That's what Dylan Roof should get. I feel he should get that. And we should be able to witness it. That would be perfect. I think that we should be able to witness Dylan Roof be put to death. I'm all for it. It won't traumatize me. That's what I feel. But that's just me. And that's just wishful thinking, because I know it's not going to happen. But let me move on to the next story. And this is a story right here that everybody has been wanting me to talk about for the longest since it happened. And that's this one about this hotel clerk whose name is, let me make sure I get his name right. Raymond Rachal. I'm guessing that's his name is Rachel or Rachal. And he was attacked by this PC man inside of a hotel that he was working at. And the hotel clerk basically subdued the attacker. And when the cops get there, who gets arrested?
Tonight, police body camera video reveals a shocking new angle of a hotel brawl in Florida. Back up. Back up. The video, released by the Fort Lauderdale Police Department, shows officers yelling and pushing a black hotel employee before arresting him, even though that employee, Raymond Rachal, was the one to call the police in the first place. Previously released surveillance footage of the incident at a Best Western shows 28-year-old Rachal working at the lobby desk when a man charges past the front desk barrier towards him. Rachal punches the man, Jason Rabe, multiple times before putting him in a headlock and holds him down while 911 was called. According to the incident report from the police, Rachal said the man refused to leave the hotel. Rachal told CBS's Miami affiliate that he canceled Rabe's stay because Rabe, who is white, was making racial slurs towards him. We reached out to Rachal for comment, but have not heard back. In the incident report obtained by NBC News, when police responded to the scene, Rachal was hostile and refused to back up. The officer reporting he pushed Rachal back before Rachal, quote, placed his hands on my upper torso and pushed me. It does not appear Rachal pushed the officer from the footage reviewed by NBC News. And you didn't help nothing. Back up. Rachal was taken into custody and charged with disorderly conduct and resisting an officer with violence. The charges were later dropped. The incident report also states the guest, Jason Rabe of New York, was, quote, obviously drunk, uneasy on his feet, and slurring his words, but calm and tried to explain that Rachal had canceled his reservation. Surveillance video shows police escorting Rabe out of the hotel. The incident report saying he was cited for trespassing before getting a courtesy ride to a friend's house, according to the report.
How is it that the clerk got arrested, but the subject in this whole thing gets to have a ride home? And those are legitimate questions.
On a phone call, Rabe told us what started the incident was, quote, just a lack of customer service, and he was very rude. You know, so that led to some other stuff, adding that he's, quote, literally the most non-racist person. The videos of the incident circulating and sparking outrage online, with people accusing police of racial bias against Rachal. In a statement, the Fort Lauderdale Police Department said it's conducting a review of the incident.
All right, Issa joins us now from the studio. And just to remind our viewers, how did this whole thing actually start?
We don't actually know, Tom. So the incident report, police say that there were no independent witnesses who could corroborate how the physical altercation that we watched play out in the video actually began. Both parties say that the other person started it, right? Police today told us that they couldn't give us more information on that internal investigation that they're conducting or on the officers involved.
The guest, it says in the police report, appeared drunk. And is there any evidence that that guest also used racial slurs?
The incident report, just to clarify, said that he was obviously drunk. That's how police described it. At this point, we don't have that evidence, and it wasn't mentioned in the incident report either.
Will there be an independent investigation? Because when you look at the video and the body cam, there's some stuff that obviously doesn't add up.
There are people who are very upset online calling for that. The law enforcement expert that I spoke to also said that that is warranted in this case, right? An investigation that's independent outside of just that investigation that the police department is doing internally. Remember, Tom, this happened back in January, and these videos are just now circulating in the last week, causing all this outrage. Now is when we're talking about it. So in these cases, when they draw so much national attention, that's when law enforcement experts like the one that I talked to really say, okay, maybe there should be an investigation that should be done outside of the police.
Okay. So y'all just y'all just saw that, or just heard that, I should say. What have I told y'all in the last few videos that I have done on my channel? That only in America, and we're talking about the United States. Oh, before I get into it, shout out to Amara Woods for the super chat. I just didn't acknowledge it because the video was playing. But what if I told you that when it comes to Black people in America, it's almost like, or it feels like, or it is, an unwritten law that we are not allowed to defend ourselves. We saw multiple angles. We saw the camera footage of this PC man literally power walk, go through the barricade, you know, through the stanchion that was right there, and attack this man. So are our eyes lying to us? This man literally barreled his way through there and started to attack this man and barely got any hits in, because like the black man was handling business. Like he was giving them haymakers and threw him in a headlock to subdue him. You had someone come in, make a 911 call, and have him yell into the phone that there's someone here that's just being belligerent, like send help, like I need help, like someone's, you know, they fucking up. And then they come in and they accuse him. They arrest him for alleged resisting arrest, and he didn't even put his hands on the cop. And we saw that too, but they still arrested him. I also said that this is why a lot of black people are scared right now to defend themselves, because it's a damn if you do, damn if you don't situation. If you don't defend yourself, you might get killed. If you do defend yourself, you might get killed as well. Or if you live, they'll say you're resisting. They love the image of the docile black man. I'm using black man in this instance because it is a black man we're talking about. And then it's like they try to give cover for the obvious attacker. Nothing happened to him. They didn't even arrest him. All they tried to get him on was trespassing. When he crossed that barrier, that was considered trespassing. Like, we saw how aggressive he walked up on him, and he threw this first swing. But we're supposed to act like we did not see what just happened. This also reminds me of a story that just happened and someone can correct me if I'm wrong about the location. I want to say in California, where you had a young black teenager who was preventing somebody, some PC individual, from shooting up something and protecting the people inside of the establishment. And what happened when the cops got there? They shot the black person, I want to say a teenager, who was defending the place from that shooter. And thankfully, he did not die, but he's in the hospital right now recovering. And the last thing that I heard is that they handcuffed him to the bed as if he's a criminal. So there again, there goes my theory. Unwritten law. Black people aren't now, not only are black people not allowed to defend themselves, but now we're not even allowed to be the hero either. Only and always the villain. Shout out to Sammy Logan for the super chat. He says, rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. I'm glad that though that he did defend himself against this little terrorist, because that's all I can see him as, is a little goddamn terrorist. I don't care if he was drunk. They're trying to use he was the obviously drunk line, so he could not possibly been aware of what he was doing. Bullshit. And I believe the black man when he said that he was calling him racial slurs. That wouldn't surprise me in the least bit. Remember, I just did a video about a white man who was attacking these black employees at the Popeyes for allegedly a black female calling him a cracker. And then he went on to a rant by calling them nigger a whole bunch of times, then leading to threatening to lynch them. I tell you, PC, they get besides themselves. They have been getting besides themselves. But like I said, we at the boiling point too, where we are not going to be pushed around, bullied, or intimidated. We swing back. Well, most of us. It needs to be all of us. Because as you can see by this video, they don't care. And then they said this happened in January. This happened in January. Look at the date. January 19, 2022. And we're just now learning about it. I'm thinking that this happened this week, last week, or whenever this story first got out. It happened back in January. So it makes you wonder, why were they trying to bury this story? And shout out to Noam King for the super chat. He said, ladies and gentlemen, if you are ever oppressed aggressively by any non-black using racial slurs and they attempt to hit you, retaliate with deadly force and nothing less. This ain't Call of Duty. You don't respond. All I can say is PC is actually lucky that this black man did not have his power tool on him, because he would have been well within his right to use it. And that's another thing that I've been noticing. I've been noticing in my comment sections, whenever I talk about black people defending themselves and a power tool is being used, I get so much pushback saying, oh, that's not really self-defense. Like the one that I did about the young lady who was working at the drive-thru and the person threw mayo at her, or squirted mayo at her, and the person went and parked. I'm like, I guess y'all must have missed that part of the story where the person didn't leave, but they went and parked as if they were trying to bait her to come outside, which they did. And then she went and got her gun and shot at them. And then that's when they drove off. It is what it is. One of the best stories that I could have did back in 2020 was when they said that there was a huge increase of black people going to get their power tools and go to that range and practice using their power tools. Gentleman Raider said it's one thing to tell black men to defend themselves. We actually need vets to train black men in weapons handling and tactical self-defense. Here's the thing about that. While that's all good and everything, you see how that guy just ran up on him the way that he did? Sometimes that stuff will just go right out the window, because you can't, so a lot of people won't be able to think that fast. At that point, it's fight or flight. It's either going to be you or it's going to be us. Because I will refuse to go down and you're still standing. I'm not discarding or disregarding what you said, because that's definitely good to have, but you would have to be in the moment where you are prepared for what's about to happen. This black man was not prepared for this white guy to run up on him, but he knew how to defend himself with his hands. Luckily, the white guy didn't have anything on him either, that he just didn't roll up on him and just shoot him from in front of the counter. But I would just say that you just got to make sure that you have what you need, the equalizer, the great equalizer, on you at all times, because you just never know. You never know when they feeling extracurricular that day. Jerome Davis said, I'm sick of male people playing victim. Exactly. Because that's exactly what this PC man did. He tried to play the victim. Just like I did that video the other day of that white mother who was attacking her daughter because she found out that her ex was with a black woman. And then when the guy pushed her off with the girl, then that's when she wanted to go into Karen mode and claim to be a victim. Yeah, they do that very, very well. They give one hell of a performance quite often. But anyway, let me move on to the last story. And I think many of you know what the last story is going to be. But before I click on it, what do y'all think it is? I'm just curious. Y'all let me know down in the comments. What do y'all think the last story on my channel, well, not on my channel, on this stream is going to be? I just want to see where y'all head is at. Because this was going to be the last story, but I added one more. Spidey said Will. Gary said Kangaroo Jackson. DSM said Will. Ashley said the flat. I already did one on Ezra Miller. Child of the most light. Child of light said Jada. Black Judge Will. Shout out to Paula Laster for the super chat. She said, "You're speaking nothing but truth. I appreciate it." Okay, let's find out. I just had to throw it in there. I just had to throw this one in here. So to those of you who guessed Will Smith getting a 10-year ban from the Academy, you get the little gold star. Now, before I get into this, I have 3 more videos concerning this situation. One of them is coming tomorrow. Then I have 2 more after that. They're not coming up the same day, though. But after that, I'm going to be done with this story. Because like I said, most of the videos that I've done about this has mainly been about calling people out on their hypocrisy, much like how Harvey's been doing on his channel. But after that last video goes up, and I'm gonna spoil it for you. The last video that I'm doing about this is going to be about how Jada responded to what Will Smith did. That's going to be the last one. I'm not going to tell you when it goes up, but just know that it's coming. I already recorded the video. It's just not in the queue yet, but it's coming. So I feel like everybody on here has already found out or already knows, and this is a breaking news story in entertainment anyway, that Will Smith got a 10-year ban from the Oscars. Now, at first, before I actually learned more details, I thought he got banned from the Oscars, where in the sense of he could not be in any movies that could have been considered Oscar-worthy nomination-wise, but that's not the case. So basically what it is Will Smith cannot attend the ceremony. He cannot do it in person, nor can he do it virtually. Now, the tradition is when the person who wins Best Actor, which he did in a leading role, they will come back the following year and present the nominees and the Oscar to the Best Actress in a leading role. Just like in reverse, whoever wins Best Lead Actress would win or would present the nominees and winner for Best Lead Actor. That's usually how it's done. They usually get the winner from the previous year to present to those in opposite categories as far as genders go for the next person up. So he cannot attend the ceremony, whether in person or virtually. However, he can still get nominated for Oscars and potentially win. Let me repeat that. He can still get nominated for Oscars and potentially win. Now, of course, you know, you had some people that felt some type of way about that because they said, well, that's kind of a slap on the wrist because, you know, what's the point of giving him a 10-year ban if he's still going to be able to be nominated and possibly win? And he also will be able to keep his Oscar. So they're not taking his Oscar away from him because his role has nothing to do with the actions in which he did or took on the night the Oscars aired. And of course, like I said, you had some people felt some type of way about it, and I knew that they would. And I had said on someone else's comment, I said, they know what they're doing because, see, if they was to strip Will Smith of his Oscar, you would have had a lot of eyes honing in on the Academy about several other people who should have had their Oscars stripped away. And honestly, it's some people that should. We ain't gonna name no names, but they know who they are. Now, what I said is I'm glad that he did not get a ban from the Screen Actors Guild or SAG. Because if he got a ban from that, Will probably would not be able to act for a very long time in any role. Because the Screen Actors Guild is basically, I don't want to say it's an extension of the Academy. It probably is, but that's basically how the actors get those nice roles, is to get into the Screen Actors Guild. That's just that's an actor's thing. I know this because I've done some, acting on the side before, so I'm familiar with these terminologies. If he had got a ban from SAG, then that would have been worse than a ban from the Oscars. Trust me. Because he's just being banned from going to the ceremony, and that's it. Now, I don't know what his position is as far as being on the board and him being able to vote. I don't know about that. They just said that he can't go to the ceremony. And, if that's the worst that they could do, then I would be like, okay, whatever. Now, keep this in mind. Will Smith, and I talked about this on my channel, Will Smith resigned. He resigned right when he knew what was about to happen. He resigned from the Academy. And I told y'all why he did it. He resigned from the Academy because he knew that they was going to do this, or maybe more. So he said, let me get myself out of the way before they fire me. Just like when someone is on a job and they quit before you get a chance to get fired, because you would rather resign than get fired. And it makes you wonder, like, if he resigned, then why did you put a ban on him? And let's be real here. 10 years, a whole decade, unless something happens and they decide to lift it or shorten it, that's a long time. You're talking about from 2022 to 2032. Crystal said he resigned so he cannot vote. Okay. Well, thanks for putting that out there. Okay. So he can't vote. Fine. But yeah, 2022 to 2032 is a long time. That's why I was pissed when Alec Baldwin said anything. I'm like, dude, you have a whole body under your belt. Like, you shouldn't be talking. You didn't get it in. You know why you didn't get invited. No one was about to be in a room with a murderer, intentional or not. Although it's some other creeps in that room. We're looking at you, Zoe Kravitz. If she was there. Ashton said he'll be in his... No, Will Smith is not. Will Smith is in his 50s. Ashton, you aged him. He's not... Will Smith is not in his 60s. He's in his 50s. Yeah, like S-Rep said, he'll be 63. He's in his 50s. I'm about to say, Will Smith ain't that old. But yeah. But honestly, I don't think Will Smith is really going to hurt from this, honestly, because he still has a wide fan base. I've seen people leave comments saying, I don't want him to work and act ever again. I'm like, y'all need to take your fake outrage somewhere else. Some of y'all are just hopping on the bandwagon because it's popular and trendy to talk about right now. Something else is going to pop off. I already know. We're only in the beginning of the second quarter of the year. We still got 3 more. We still got 2 more to go. We still got the rest of spring, all of summer, the fall, and then the winter. Something else is going to happen that's way bigger than this. But they're going to revert back to this because next year when the Oscars come on, they're going to constantly bring that up. They're going to bring it up. Now, like I said, it is what it is. It happened. Will probably feel some type of way about it. He might regret it. He may not. I don't know. I don't live with the Smith family. I don't live in his body. I don't live and dwell in his head. I don't know what he could possibly be going through. I do know that I was watching Kimberly Frazier's video and he said that he was checking himself into rehab. which is probably for the best. Because who knows what else he got going on. It's a lot of stress that he's been dealing with for the last 2 weeks now, basically. And maybe he could just take some time off. I don't know, maybe go on vacation to some secluded place and just relax and just unwind and get away from it. Don't take your family, go by yourself. I would highly suggest that. Do not go with Jada. Go by yourself to some place for a week or two, because you can more than afford it. You only have time on your hands right now because they halted his projects. So he's really not working right now. No one really probably wants to work with him because they consider him tainted. So just go relax and just collect yourself and then come back with a fresh mind. Because that's what we told Chris Brown to do. That's what we told Chris Brown to do. Go somewhere. Don't take your entourage with you. Don't even take your daughter with you. Leave your daughter with your mother and just go unwind for a little bit. Refresh, come back, and then proceed. And this is why I've also said that when it comes to the Black community and when we discuss like mental illnesses, not saying that Will Smith has a mental illness or even Chris Brown, we need to take that more seriously. Do something therapeutic that only you can vibe with. The stresses of life, especially being Black in America, is stressful. It's fun as hell, but it can be stressful. Just take some time for yourself. Phantom B said, and just hang out with your oldest son. Don't even take your oldest son, the one who clearly seems like to be the normal of all the siblings. Don't even take your oldest son. Just go by yourself. Just do your own, like just chill for a little bit. Don't even think about the industry. Don't even think about acting. Just go and just go on a vacation. That's all I can say. Just go on a vacation for like a 2-week vacation where, you know, you're by yourself. Don't even get into like social media. I would say don't even post anything. Don't literally disconnect from the world. Just go be by yourself. Because like you've been working constantly, and not only because of this, but because he's been constantly working in the industry for the last 3 decades, non-stop. He just needs a break. I think he just needs a break to get away from everything and everyone, especially those in Hollywood, that cesspool. Sun Temple, I'm only going to assume that you're trolling. So can somebody get Sun Temple up out of here? Thank you, please, and thank you. I'm not trying to look at these troll comments today. I'm actually like being serious with this right now. I'm being so serious because this is something that many people don't like to talk about, is like the mental health capacity when it comes to Black people. Like they take that as a joke. Since people wanted to act slow on the take, I decided to block them. Y'all took too long to block this person who was trolling. But yeah, back to what I was saying. Will Smith, just unwind. That's all I said. Unplug from everything. Don't get on social media. Don't look on social media. Don't even do that. I would suggest he don't take his phone, but I say you take it up, lock it up somewhere, and just be one with nature if it comes to that. Phantom B said, I hope he leaves Jada. She was not worth this headache. At the end of the day, Phantom, we can tell him to leave Jada, Society can tell him to leave her, but at the end of the day, he has to make that decision of whether he wants to leave her or not. That's on him. We can't force him to do whatever it is that he doesn't want to do. That he is a grown man. If he wants to decide to leave Jada, that's on him. I have a feeling, people won't feel, will be happy if he does, but that's his decision. I think many people outside of their marriage would know what to do, but we're not in their relationship. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. That's pretty much all I have today on these topics. And that's going to be pretty much the end of the stream. I hope everybody had a good time. Another Friday in the books. We'll be back on the other channel next week. I'll be back tomorrow with the 3 videos. Let me tell y'all something right quick. There's one video I'm uploading tomorrow, the premiere video. Oh my God. I need everybody to share the hell out of that video, because you know how I usually post up the video at 12 a.m. to give you an idea of what I'm going to talk about. Man, this video right here is probably going to be one of the most eye-opening, disturbing, and scariest videos you will ever see, to the point where I did not even give a hint of what it's going to be about, but it's going to be an attention grabber. Even when I was typing up the description, I don't give away what it's going to be about, but it's intense. And it actually almost pissed me off having to look at it. Shout out to Amara Woods again for the for the super chat. I appreciate you. Shout out to everybody who hit the join button, whoever became a member. I need to go in there and see how many members I have now, because the last time I looked, I had 7. I probably have more than that now. But yeah, y'all enjoy the rest of your Friday, because I know it's still light outside. It's still light over here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll be back at it tomorrow. 3 videos, of course, 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, that's pretty much